Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Chess Show on Pot TV. My name is Sasha Star, and our guest today is one and only Ken Regan. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me on a day before I fly to the St. Louis Chess Conference this weekend.
Wow, you're lucky one.
It's also the last day of the U.S. Championships. The winner of the women's section has already been determined, even though she lost her last two games. But she won
Wow.
her first 8 games to
Uh,
put into possibility winning the Bobby Fischer Prize of an 11-0 sweep.
it's very, very tough proposition, and
Yeah, we're talking
I'm
about
glad that
Carissa
she
Yip, of
made
course.
short of it. Yeah.
Uh, She is the defending champion. But maybe that's not the biggest news we have this week and last week.
What is the biggest?
Well, the biggest news is the cheating case in Spain,
Yeah,
where one of the world's top 100 players, Grandmaster Kirill Shevchenko, um, was evidently caught red-handed using a cell phone in a bathroom stall.
and
I'm not sure.
all
Yeah,
commentators are very careful to say that it has not been proven
right.
so.
That's why I said apparently.
Yes.
There are
Yeah,
appearances of it, including a note written with the phone in Spanish
yeah,
saying the owner of this phone needs to consult it overnight. Please don't touch it. That matches his handwriting on score sheets. But as said, nothing definitively proven. I've not even learned whether there was a chess program on the phone.
yeah.
Uh,
And believe it or not, he won recently one of this title Tuesdays.
yes, he did,
It's,
and there was the only the second time this year that he had played Title Tuesday.
wow,
So,
impressive, very impressive.
so that's yeah, it's a very difficult situation. But as said, they do have observations of him going to the bathroom during the games, and of course, I have been contacted and giving
Jim.
what evidence I can. Yes. So James, we started a little bit early, and I've just been talking about Carissa Yip clinching first place at the U.S. Women's Championship, but
Yeah.
that's still being overshadowed by the cheating case from the Spanish Team Championship.
Right.
So I don't know if you have opinions about that, or if, what, or say what you've seen.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, it's really something that the FIDE Ethics has to investigate before I form an opinion. Once they make a determination, right? Right now, it circumstances look bad,
Yeah,
and but I'd like to see the evidence come in first before
right.
I say
Yeah. So I was
I call him a
discussing
cheater or anything like
some
that.
of the evidence saying, gives the appearance of being caught red-handed, but there
Right.
still are some gaps, and so
Yeah.
I don't think the
Just
full
let it
story has
play
come
out,
out,
and we'll see. Right.
even from reading newspaper articles in Spanish. But
Right.
it was covered extensively in the Spanish press. But it is, of course, very upsetting.
Well,
So,
it is funny that the only way chess really, not the only way, but one of the ways that chess gets into the mainstream press is by scandals.
yeah. And of course, the scandal at the U.S. Championship with Christopher Woojin Yu, angry after the loss of what he felt was a winning game against Fabiano Caruana. I don't actually think so. But he crumpled his score sheet and then punched for no apparent prompt reason at all a female videographer in the back.
Right.
So you can't do that.
No,
Um,
no, but he's 17 years old. I'm not defending his actions at all. I interviewed him and his father a few years ago, and I know it seemed to me to be he was in a good family situation, and I'm sure his upbringing was counter to what we saw there. And I know that his father is very apologetic, and you know I don't want to be judged by what I did when I was 17 either.
right.
These guys are in really high pressure situations, and again, it's not a defense. His actions were indefensible, but it's a very high pressure situation, and it brings out the worst in us sometimes. And it's unfortunate because it seemed out of character to me. And,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
So anyway,
shout out to Carissa winning the U.S. Championship, 9 straight wins. Is that right?
8 straight wins to begin, and now 2 losses. Like I was looking forward to her being 10-0 facing Alice Lee, who actually outrates her, or close,
yeah.
depending on whether my adjustment formula is used. But
It
instead,
brings to mind
Megan,
the Bobby Fischer Championship.
right, who
Yeah.
apparently is no relation, put an abrupt end to her streak. And she lost. So the story that I had prepped to tell before is her defeating a perennial former U.S. Women's Champion, Irina Krush, in a very crazy game. But another perennial former U.S. Women's Champion, Anna Zaitansky, also beat her yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's what. Anyway, the game against Irina Krush is a crazy game.
Okay.
So it's worth showing. It's just a case of a real fighting tip. I'm going to show just the tab. So let's see if that. So tell me when you see a chessboard.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Irina Krush is white. Carissa Yip is black. We get the English opening to start with, but well, King's Indian defense, this could even turn into a Marazzi Sicilian. Let's see how it.
Yeah.
However, White decides to make it a Benoni type structure instead.
Right.
However, now immediately whipping off that knight before White can support it with the queen or bishop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen this more and more, and it just feels wrong to me, but it seems to be very playable.
Right. Well, if you're going to put all your pawns on dark squares, but keep the main diagonal open, your dark squared bishop is still useful.
Right.
Carissa Yip does not keep the main diagonal open. Instead, we get this very heavy condition in the center of the board. So now the question is going to be, can White's bishops find air? Are Black's knights better? Is White's bishop on f1 going to be tied down to the defense of the pawn on c4?
Right.
Will things open up on the king side? And the a famous game from 52 years ago, one of the Spassky-Fischer games, saw White come to a very quick end in this structure. Anyway, bishop d3, a natural move. Now Black starts just really shoring up the center. Black is in no hurry to castle, because White cannot break through in the center. Black has the e5 square absolutely under clamps, so even White playing f4. The one worry might be an attack down the f file. And here we come with some more hyper-modern chess. I would have thought this a weakening, but it stakes out space, and it presages Black's pieces really coming together on the king side once Black's king gets out of the way.
Yeah, and it also says knight h6 is my plan rather than knight f6. So.
Right. Yeah. And Black's next move says that knight a5 is definitely not my plan either. But if the knight can be stable on b6, then it will attack 2 pawns. So Black fixes White's weakness on a4. Again, that weakness on a4 was a feature of the famous Spassky-Fischer game. But anyway, now White has this open file. Question is, well, Black can't plug it either. It does not have the b4 square, but Black can defend it in various ways, including with the king. So here we go.
Mm-hmm. That would.
Yes, we are going to feign castling.
Queenside castling by hand.
Yeah, queenside castling. White absolutely cannot lay a finger on this. In fact, White's knight is very far from getting to the b5 square.
Yeah, you just mentioned that Black was not in a hurry to castle in the last 2 moves by king. It shows exactly why.
Yeah, to get it to the b5 square, you have to go king h1, knight g1, knight f3, knight e1, knight c2.
You need Kolpanowski to do it.
What? Yeah. So White plugs with the rook instead. I mean, the question is whether White can force back Black to play b6, but Black stakes out space. So, of course, this is, hyper-modern chess. Push your rook's pawns, don't develop your pieces, although this does develop Black's rook on a8 a little more. So White has a classically developed position. Black has this crazy undeveloped position, yet the engine gives white a slight edge, but not really doing anything with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
with the center locked like this, it's just another reinforcement that you don't have to hurry with the center locked.
Yeah. Now maybe I don't understand Rook A6.
I think Rook A6. Maybe she's thinking about playing Knight B6 and supporting it there.
Knight B6. Yes, that's right. That's a fair thing. Yeah, because both the king and the rook went after white doubles, although white can triple on that file too.
That's true.
The engine wanted black to either play H3, but maybe it's too early to commit to a plan like that, maybe, or play B6 and bishop A6. So it's all sorts of who knows what's going on. But now, supposedly, the engine wants white to play H3, and supposedly black has lost tempi and in fact is not connecting rooks on the king side. That would be a reason white should play there. But instead we double on the B file, and now here comes black on the king side. This seems majorly inconsistent to me, but it's slowly capturing space, I guess. Now, black does have to worry about rook takes B7 check. So in fact, we did support B6, and maybe the real purpose of rook A6 was to triple guard that square so that white cannot sacrifice a rook and crash through.
Right.
Yeah. So okay. So black guards that, and black's rook were on A8. Black would have been forced eventually to play rook A6, and maybe not rook B8 because that could be subject to certain pins.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I was thinking maybe it belonged on B8, but rook takes A5 might be in the air at that point.
Yeah. Now black has completed her "I have no dark squared bishop" strategy. There's one square from which white's light squared bishop would be useful, and that's H3. But the pawn on H4 already discourages white from doing that. Okay, so white starts maneuvering pieces, so does black. I'm not going to comment on engine evaluations for a while. This is fingering the possibility of a knight takes A5 sacrifice. Again, black, so white puts the bishop towards the G, stops back from playing G4, which could potentially attack something. And now the king goes away. Maybe black felt the queen side could get hot. This also sort of opens up the second rank for black's queen in some cases. So just black opens it up a little more. Okay, now the king comes back. White's knight is no longer there. So black says, I'm better on C7 in general. It's just when white's knight is an A5, I want to watch out for tricks. So now white is more sensibly, white's bishop F2, prepared bringing the knight to E3 and into F5.
Right.
So that's some very clear potential progress that white could make. So now black goes into her defensive crouch. I don't know what queen H7 is for, but whatever it is, white decides to relocate the king as well. And now this. Okay, this is where the game starts becoming crazy. Carissa, yet, by the way, with still substantial time left on the clock.
This game is very hard for me to understand, but this F5 looks like it's she made up her mind that I have an advantage here, and otherwise she would have continued. But I don't know what the maneuvering was all about, frankly.
Yeah.
Unless this was going to be played.
Yeah. The engine, on the other hand, does clearly say that F5 is the best move, and the engine criticizes white's decision to move the king and said that white needs to relocate the light squared bishop again. Although I don't know what the point of any of the moves, bishop D1, bishop F1. I can see bishop D3 having a point of stopping F5. Right. Anyway, here we come. Now the game is suddenly going to open up. One thing this right away is that white's knight gets another good square. So white's knight on G4 is the best piece on the board momentarily, but it can be undermined. So here comes black. Now black actually has a substantial advantage already.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah. So now the F3 pawn, is coming under focus. So white decides to get the king off the file, and now that's the chess.com shows that Saporma was saying knight h6, exchanging the knight on g4 was better, but it's
that makes sense, doesn't it? Though it was like you said, knight g4 was the best piece, so take it out. Yeah.
Now the engine likes white because now white is going to get the knight to e4. And this is now turning the tables on black. So black didn't have a follow-up. So black does not want white's knight to come to e4. With bishop d3 behind the knight on e4, even if black trades once, even if black trades twice, white probably still, by playing bishop f5, white probably still commandeers the e4 square. Also, you can't play knight f6 because then b6 is hanging.
And also, bishop d3 is coming in too, so it's like
bishop d3. So
yeah.
So the engine does not like this and thinks that white gets a really substantial advantage. So the engine wanted black to play knight f5, bishop d3, and then just unpin and still be harassing white. But anyway, e4. Now Arena captures with the wrong piece.
Right.
So knight takes e4 was the way to go. And I'd like to ask her what she was afraid of. I guess g4, undermining e4 is a continuation, but you have to calculate. It does get crazy. And this
95 is in the air too, and
Yep. So oops. G4, then bishop d3. Knight e5 is in the air, but go ahead and capture this pawn.
Whoa.
Now you've got stuff hanging all over the place.
Right.
You're also filtering in. So I mean, there's a mate maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Rook takes b6, queen takes b6 check, king d7. I'm sure these are all positions. So the engine says with bishop g5 that white is actually winning this thing.
Yep.
So I don't. I would just say the reason has to be is that black is not going to be able to defend d6 forever. If I insouciantly take this pawn, what's hanging? I guess mate is hanging. Yeah, it's mate. So never mind.
Well, and you still have the e8 square to retreat to, but
yeah, but e7. It's very. There isn't a convenient
good
way
point. Yeah.
to guard e7. Maybe this. Well, that blocks a flight square. So here, and then this is queen b5 check, king. Oh, you lose a5 with check. I don't know. White just tortures you. It looks like white gets the queen to c7, and then is threatening bishop takes e7, and black's pieces will drop off, and threatening d6 as well.
Yeah,
but this would have taken some calculation though. And so Arena captured with the pawn, and was simply misunderestimated black's reply. So if black doesn't play f2 right away, white does have a substantial advantage. Okay, but rook takes f2.
Wow.
Definitely now getting pieces in, and the problem is, well,
queen g2 is a threat.
This just needs concrete calculation. So Arena goes and captures a pawn. In fact, what Arena should have done was guard the g2 square check, so that black cannot invade it. And now, well, this is actually deemed a mistake by the computer. Instead, the developing move knight g6 coming in was better, but I'm sure this is what Arena thought was going to be played. So we capture, and now white is technically doing all right. The verdict of the game maybe should eventually be a draw by some kind of perpetual check, or just by fortress. Anyway, this is the tabia of the game. And I can't blame white for trying to win this. So white does try to win, but in trying to win, plays to lose. Okay, so the game anyway is objectively even at this point. So it's a little bit of shadow boxing going on. And white captures, Now that capture is however should bring nothing but a draw by perpetual check. Okay, so we capture this. Queen b5, still fine. So let's see, if black captures on b6, it's mate. How is it mate? Let's see. If black captures on b6, you capture king d7, and then this is, and the problem is black does not have a check.
Not defended, yeah.
So I'm going to get a move to, to capture your bishop, and then my queen and rook will run wild. So king d8, then rook c8, or see, rook b8, I mean, yeah. So black does not have a check. That's the key point in this position. So again, I bet that Arena thought this was going to be a win, but black has a way to put what the British would call a spanner in the works. Cut off white's rook from attacking on the b file, and this should hold equality, but it's up to white to hold equality, and it's actually now very difficult to see that rook b8 and rook f1 are the ways to hold this position. You can't take the knight because then black captures check and rook b6. So,
Right.
So this, with 3 minutes 55 seconds left on the clock, this is a real minefield. So apparently white can just play rook f1, and then if black captures on b6, play rook c7 check, rook f7 check, rook f8 check for a perpetual. But anyway, white captured, very natural thing to do. Okay, so now white, can be an exchange up, but Jennifer, you had calculated this a little better. It's still not lost for white.
Yeah, this is a really great game. I mean, I am not equipped to calculate all of this.
Yeah, you have to play rook b3.
Yeah, and then what? What is black?
Then black has to go for it's not a perpetual. Black can play queen g1, and then I guess black always has a perpetual in hand. But let's say I play queen g2 to hold on to the pawn. Okay, now I lose the bishop, and I'm not going to queen fast enough.
Right.
To let's see, queen here. Or you can make a second queen, but white's rook and queen are going to give mate.
Yeah.
So, okay. At any rate, white did not play rook b3. White played king b2, which to me, just with 15 minutes on the clock, just looks really, really wrong. I mean, I guess white was trying to
control rook b3 would be banged out without thinking.
Yeah, or you're not even hiding on a1 because black has the diagonal for checks. But in fact, Carissa Yip mapped out that we can get this pawn with check. Let's see. Could white have stopped c4 from falling with check? No, there's no square. Let's see. So can white stop c4 from falling with check? The only way I see to do it is to play try king b3. But then let's see, king b3, queen e3 check. Now king c2 is going to transpose.
Yeah.
And king b2, queen d4 check is again in c4 with check. So that will just simply transpose. So queen c2, queen e2 check, and now c4 is falling with check. And
this is too bad.
Yep. So, yeah. So, really a very striking game.
Wow, very impressive.
I don't see the response to rook b3. I don't know. Black can hold after rook b3. Yeah, well,
it should eventually be latent perpetual checks. Let's see. So the actually it's now the engine's giving black a, maybe this is why Arena feared rook a3, because again your c pawn is falling with check and you're threatened with mate.
Right.
So you don't have time. So actually this probably is what Arena calculated. That this is gnarly.
Gotcha.
Yep. So
again, I just didn't understand this game well enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's see a game from the let's take a look at the men's open section. That's all. I have round 4 selected. I want to select all rounds. So it's set up for today's play. So there wasn't any change at the top. So the results. So currently, what we have is we have Fabiano Caruana leading, and then Ray Robeson and Wonder Liang half point behind. Sam Sevian and Hans-Moke Niemann a point behind. So they could still figure in a playoff if Caruana loses. But Fabiano Caruana is playing Sam Shanklin with the white pieces. So what happened to so Wonder Liang drew while Caruana drew? I thought they had been tied for first, but I must have been looking at something else. They drew each other.
You guys have probably addressed this, but why isn't Nakamura playing?
That's a very, I actually asked that implicitly, but Nakamura did say around 2021 that he wasn't going to play in the U.S. Championships anymore.
Right.
That he was semi-retired or maybe focusing just on the opportunity in the candidates tournament. I made a joke that perhaps Nakamura was there as a full-time coach for his wife, Atusa Porkashian, who has been in the middle of the pack, more or less maybe, in the women's. Let's take a look at the standings in the women's overall. We have Carissa Yip, with a 1.5 point lead with the round to go, so she's definitely clinched. Tusha Borkashian is actually toward the bottom with just a win over Gulruk Begim Tokiryonova, who was our force in the Olympiad, along with Carissa Yip.
Nakamura has also made it clear that he thinks what's going on online is more important.
Yes, that's right. Yes, in fact, he made some statements that I would have to go find and review about increments in chess, saying it's okay to play without increment. That's part of the, online experience in particular. Over the board, maybe dicier when pieces are flying and hands are punching clocks.
Right. It's very, very interesting because he's one of the strongest American players in a long time, and it's like Magnus not defending his his world title. We don't have Nakamura competing in the U.S. Championship. It's a big loss, I think.
It is. Actually, I know what's the issue with the standings. These standings have blanked out Yu's game.
Right.
And it is blanked out as a column too. So player 12 is not covered in this. I had to extend my browser a little bit more to see this. But player 12 is not covered. Oh, it is covered in this table. So wait a second. Maybe I'm deceived here. So Fabiano Caruana does, and that's 11. That's box 11.
Yeah.
So let's see. Wait a second. If I shift over this, okay. So the standings are annulling the games against Christopher Yu. So these standings are therefore correct. So Fabiano is leading to defend his title too by 0.5 point. Robeson and Liang are the ones who can most easily catch him. And let's see, are any of these players playing each other? Robeson has the bye. Okay. So Robeson's done. So it's just Liang who can catch him by defeating Lanier Dominguez Perez with white. And then in the other standings, it's Neiman had his bye already. So he and Sevian play each other. So if there's a decisive result in that game, then it would tie if, in fact, Fabiano Caruana loses. But I imagine that Caruana will play professionally to keep the draw, in hand.
Yeah.
And with the white pieces, and then we'll see if Wonder Liang can make hay against him. So let me just mention, of course, that this is a difference of generations. And I said this about last year's championship too, but it's even more notable that this year's championship has a lot of the players who are still under 21, really. So Mishra, Neiman has just turned 21 this year. And then Sam Sevian is probably older, but he's been a young player for a long time.
Yeah, it seems like he's been around you.
And Awonder Liang is definitely new. Abhimanyu Mishra has been having a tough time.
Yeah.
But he's firmly established as a 2600 level player.
Right.
If I want to show a notable win by Awonder Liang, then that should be his win against Levan Aronian. So let's go find that. This Mishra Aronian leading to a draw, and Aronian holding off Ray Robson, but not holding off Awonder Liang. I think that game obviously happened early. Let's see. Keep on going back here.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, so let's take a look at this game. How Awonder Liang is black in a very long game. So try not to dwell on this game. We're actually already at the half-hour mark. But okay, so we actually see the classical opens, except the white plays d3 instead of preparing for d4, and white does not play a4, but instead plays really much more slowly and with the pieces. So this is definitely a maneuvering game. So white is a good knight. The engine gives white a normal 0.30 edge. So a completely expected result of an opening where there is no early crisis. And that's still the case in this position. Black makes a feint of an attack, but white is able to regroup. But there's nothing really wrong with black's position. White finally expands in the center. Black is well placed to counter this.
Yeah.
And this is actually a very positional way of countering it, because black wants to fix an isolated pawn or a trunk pawn now. It's a base pawn. And here we go, c5, classic Nimzovich, undermining the base of the pawn structure. And white brings the knight to e2, but the knight on e2 is a clumsy piece.
Mm-hmm.
It was needed to shore up d4. And perhaps realizing it's clumsy is why Aronian tried to move it, but now white has harmed the pawn structure.
Yeah, don't like it.
This now, this is obviously what Aronian did not expect. This is a touch of brilliance, but of course what's happening is f3 is going to fall.
Right.
White captures on c4. So this may simply have been maybe underestimated, because you could also think that white would just be capturing on d4. So why can't white capture on d4? Or what happens? White take. And now, interestingly enough, white gets overloaded. So, is white really overloaded? Bishop d3.
I would have just captured on bishop f3 check.
Well, black didn't have it. Black's d-pawn never got out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but this, white's like the back rank. It's it's an edge for black. There's a lot of queen g6 check, queen b1. There's a lot of air in white's position. So anyway, so this build-up was.
That's correct.
White decides to, not sure what this move is for. Maybe hoping against hope to get f5, f6 in. Yeah, bring the bishop back. So f5, f6 is now on the table. But black now does a clearance play. So if white capture, the f4 is hanging. So anyway, so this was all planned to guard f4. Or wait a second, why not just play queen takes f5, and then bishop takes d3, forks. Okay. So rook c2 actually is another nice move that needs to be calculated. Anyway, this is all. So black decides to parachute into an endgame with a slight edge. So now black slowly outplays white. Black parachuted an endgame with a slight edge. Again, there are better moves, rook f4, keeping the position, but who doesn't want to be 2 points ahead in a position like this? So anyway, I'm just going to play over the game. Black still has a slight edge. Black has now sacrificed a bishop, but has 4 pawns for it. And so this is interesting. The engine says that white can escape by playing rook b8 check, and that is in fact what white does. But the endgame a piece ahead with just kings on the board.
That's such a natural move.
Natural move, but it gives black another pawn. So this is, so now, I mean,
Wow.
I'll just look at the double slam. So black can play b4 because white's bishop is hanging. So this doesn't really give away the advantage. The double question mark is a little bit of an overreaction. It's very hard to play a position like this, especially with the clock
That's for sure.
So does black give away the advantage? I guess here technically yes, but I don't know. It's very hard for white to play this position as well. So apparently the engine is stalwart in saying this should be drawn, but okay, now however, it's the slippery slope maybe could only have been averted by playing rook c3, but this okay.
That was for time purposes, probably.
Yeah, probably. Now black is able to organize in time. It's not Nate yet, but okay, rook g3 is some vacillation here. Now we finally get moving. Okay. So let's see. So why can't white capture king takes a4?
Rook c1.
Rook c1, and yeah, you're going to queen the pawn. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this now, is this a winning rook ending? Apparently yes, because white's king is cut off.
So far away, otherwise not. Yeah.
Yes. So, and Aronian gave up because now it's clearly a breakthrough. So enterprising play by Alander Liang, and anyway, so today is the last day of the championship. I'm flying there tomorrow for the St. Louis Chess Conference.
Yes.
Well, next program you will tell us about this conference, because this is
yes, next week I will. Yeah, Grandmaster David Smurden of Australia and I are leading a session on cheating at chess. Very timely now. Yeah.
Well, listen, we wish you a lot of luck, first of all, in your travels and participation in this conference. And we'll be looking forward to your report next week about the conference.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for today's program. And we'll meet together next week, same place, same time, I would guess, right?
Right.
Thanks for the games, Ken.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All
Bye-bye,
right.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.